Hello, everyone. I'm here with one of my favorite draft prospects of this entire class, George Kittle. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Doing great. Really happy to have you on here. So obviously I have a ton of questions for you. Really appreciate you taking the time to answer them for me. How has the pre-draft process gone for you?
Oh, it's excellent. I spent January and February down in Frisco, Texas at an Excel facility training with a bunch of other guys from different schools across the country. And I really enjoyed that. I had a great time, learned a lot of stuff. And then the combine was really fun for me, too. Just being able to talk with other guys from across the country about, their college experiences, how their programs worked. And then, I just really enjoyed the whole combine test, and it was really fun to be able to get out there and show what I could do. And then since then, I've just been in Iowa training and went to the draft.
That's awesome. Yeah, honestly, I didn't know who you were until I saw the combine, and I was blown away. Your workouts, you killed it. And I think that's really what put you on the radar for me, as well as many other Rams fans that I've talked to. So obviously, since we're a Rams site, I'm going to ask you, have you met with the Rams at all, or have you had any contact with them?
Not really since the combine, but I've been with them there for a while.
Well, that's good to know. Definitely wanted to know if they've met with you. So I'm sure, many, including myself, have seen, that film clip of you absolutely murdering the North Dakota State guy. What makes you such a fierce blocker? Because, I mean, it's quite evident on tape. You just love to destroy people.
When you get to Iowa, they basically tell you if you can't run block, you're not going to play tight end at Iowa. And so that's something that I had to learn how to do. And I was undersized my entire career. I didn't get up to 250 until my senior year. So I had to find a way to put myself ahead of other guys, in my position group so I could play. So I just took a lot of pride, and I put a lot of effort and time into my run blocking ability. And it's just something that I really enjoy doing it. And my favorite quote of all time is, there's nothing better than moving a man from point A to point B against his will. And that's something that I learned at a young age, and it's something I've kept with me my entire career.
Oh, yeah, man. It's quite evident, as I said. Iowa's always had that reputation with me anyway. I just feel like everyone that comes out of there just has, a nasty edge to them. A good edge, though. You want that in the NFL. I.e. Brandon Scherf and the guy that played ahead of you, who's now in the NFL, C.J. Fedorowicz as well.
Yeah.
So, outside of, blocking, because that's obviously a strength of yours, what do you feel is, your biggest strength outside of being a blocker?
Let's see. You know what? I feel like I have the speed to be able to stretch the field, so, run vertical routes, seam balls, stuff like that. Another thing I love the game of football, and, that's something that's always been, tied close to me. So I'm an emotional guy on the field, and I feel like I can bring up everybody's attitude and, their level of play with just my emotion. So that's one thing that I've also taken pride in.
Yeah, and that shows on the field. I obviously did some research on you before I wrote that piece, pretty much breaking down your film. But, unless this is mistaken, you actually have a bloodline, from Iowa, namely your father, Bruce. Is that correct?
Yeah, my dad played from, 77 to 80, and then he played in the 82 Rose Bowl.
Yes, the 82 Rose Bowl, yeah, exactly. And I feel like, because, he was an offensive lineman, and I felt like, right, he was an offensive lineman? Yeah, I just want to make sure, because, I did some research, just want to make sure it's correct, since I have you.
Yeah.
But, yeah, he was an offensive lineman, and I kind of wonder if, that really translated to your game as a tight end, because I feel like you have that ability to block just as mean as an offensive lineman would.
Yeah, my dad was actually, he was my coach in every single sport until I was, 17 in high school. And so when he was coaching my youth football teams, he convinced every kid that being an offensive lineman was the best position on the field, and that however all of them would try to be one, they couldn't. Not all of them were good enough to be an offensive lineman. So he had like 14-year-old kids that wanted to be offensive linemen, which was pretty incredible. And so since he was my coach, we basically did offensive lineman drills every single day. And then just into college, he's just a guy that he took a lot of pride in being offensive lineman, especially at Iowa. So just something to be able to talk about with him. He gives me tips. I watched my film with my dad because he coached Oklahoma for 4 years, and so he knows what he's talking about. So it's helpful to have another some more eyes to give me some more tips.
Absolutely. I can't stress enough. Offensive lineman's huge. And the Rams really didn't have that this year. So, we'll take anybody at this point. So we talked about your strengths. What would you say you need to improve on the most coming into the NFL?
Something my position coach was on me for my entire career at Iowa was just getting in out of the top of my cuts a little bit faster in my routes. So that's one thing I've been working on a lot just the past couple months, and so something you just got to keep practicing it, and you eventually just get good at it. And so it's something I've been working on.
Absolutely. I was not expecting you to run a 4.52. That blew me away, as well as Mike Mayock and everyone on NFL Network. But I felt like that got overshadowed by, like John Ross broke the 40-yard dash. And I felt like, guys like you and Chris Godwin from Penn State, you both had the smoothest days at the combine I've seen. And I felt like you got overshadowed because of one 40-yard time. Not throwing shade at him, but you know what I mean? Like, I just felt like you guys put on a show, and all anyone was talking about the next day was John Ross.
that was incredible what he did. But the good news is NFL coaches, they're all their scouts. They saw, and granted, if the hype's not in the media, it's fine because the coaches, they're there, they see everything they need to see, and that's what really matters.
Absolutely, and that's a great way to answer that. Yeah, definitely. When breaking down your film, I had a hard time sticking you to one player, in particular, to compare your game. I thought of a combination of three different players. Dallas Clark, formerly of the Indianapolis Colts, Chris Cooley, formerly of the Redskins, and Charles Clay, who's on Buffalo. And, I just felt like you had a mix of all three of those guys. Who would you compare your game to the most?
Well, I don't really like to compare myself, but I grew up a Hawkeye fan, so Dallas Clark was my favorite player growing up. So he's just a guy that I've watched my entire life, and I had the opportunity while at Iowa to be able to go back and watch his game films, see what he did well, and try to mirror my game off of him. So, if I figured if I could be half the player that Dallas Clark was, I could have a pretty decent career.
Hey, absolutely. When I watch you, I feel like you are a lot like Dallas Clark. I feel like you can be that player. You're a glue guy. Any franchise would love to be able to have you on the roster, but that speed is so deceptive. So I don't think teams are going to like that when you run a 4.52. They're like, just throw this, throw it to you in the flat, and then you're just gone. Because you have the home run, hitter ability. I don't think teams are going to really see that coming. And, that brings me to my point with the Rams. We have tight ends Tyler Higbee from Western Kentucky, who drafted last year, and Tamarick Hemingway from South Carolina State last year as well. We ended up cutting Lance Kendricks, former second-round pick. He never really, took off, and so they let him go, more of a cap casualty. Do you feel you could fit in to, the Rams tight end corps? I feel like we have a spot open next to Higbee. I think many Rams fans want Evan Ingram or you, to be quite honest. So do you feel like you'd fit in well with Sean McVay's offense?
Oh, yeah. Basically, being at Iowa was a pro-style offense, and, we have pro-style coaches. And so I feel like, over the course of my 5 years at Iowa, might give me a step ahead of some of the guys that are coming out just because of what we do and it's an offense. So, I honestly feel like I could fit in anywhere because I feel like I'm a versatile player. I play with my hand in the dirt, 2-point stance, flexed out wherever you need me. So, I see an opportunity, and then it'll just go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I'd love to have you, in LA. I think you're a guy that, like, you have a high floor because you played in that pro-style offense. But you also have a really high ceiling because we, with all due respect, we didn't get to really see you a ton, as much as you deserved on offense. They didn't really utilize you the way you could have been utilized, in my opinion. I feel like you could be the biggest tight end sleeper in the entire class. I actually have you in my top 5. A lot of people don't even know who you are. And I think, the reason is because, you have the casual fan that just looks at who's putting the ball in the end zone. And, you did a lot of that, what people don't realize. You finished with 10 touchdowns, But yeah. I think, the NFL is really going to give you an opportunity to really just, show off what you can do. And, I could be wrong. Maybe you just, you stick as a blocker, situational guy. But I think, the talent is definitely there. The upside's definitely there. I have you as, like, a day 2 grade. But, how does that feel, to be, you wake up one day, and I don't know necessarily if you check mock drafts and whatnot, but, it must feel kind of weird, seeing your name up there. Must be kind of a surreal feeling. How does that feel, seeing yourself up there with, like, the top, players in your position?
Honestly, it's a dream come true. Being able to play in the NFL has been a dream on since I was a kid. So just, get to this point in my career where it's, less than a week away now. It's kind of surreal, and it's just, it makes you really appreciate, everything I've done in my career at Iowa and just, everyone that's helped me get to where I am today. So it really is. It is very surreal just to, it's coming up on Thursday and, Thursday, Friday, and, it's just incredible.
Yeah, no, it really is. And, I'm a huge fan of the draft myself, so it's been incredible, incredible experience, to be able to interview, you. I've interviewed others as well, as you've probably seen. But I'm really big on guys like you because I like sleepers. I target sleepers. I'm really big on the fact the Rams don't have a first-round pick this year because it's the Jared Goff trade. So they need to hit on every pick, and I feel like, picking somebody like you, and I've heard this mentioned before, you're a locker room changer. You're a culture changer. Like, you're this guy that's going to come in and work harder than everyone else. And, I think that's the big thing. I think people need, to take a look. You have the measurables too. But I think people get caught up oftentimes in, those crazy, athletic freaks, and they don't necessarily look at the guys that are doing all, the dirty work like you are, in the trenches and whatnot. But yeah, that's just my take as well. So moving on, tell us about your journey real quick because, I know obviously you're at Iowa and you were behind, a really good tight end in CJ Fedorowicz. So, how was that whole thing, even going back to, like, say, high school? Like, just take us through that because I'm really interested to hear from you.
Let's see, high school that's pretty crazy for me. I went to 3 different high schools my sophomore year.
Oh, wow.
A bunch. Yeah, I was in Iowa, then ended up in Norman, Oklahoma. So that's where I finished out. I graduated high school at, I was 6'2", 180. Yeah, and so when I got to campus, the 2012, I was 6'2". I got up to about 200 pounds my first day at Iowa. And then, just, like I said, I had to really improve my run game, and, you can't play tight end in the Big Ten at 200 pounds, so my body was a big thing that I had to focus on. And luckily, I grew 2 inches, which helped out a lot with that. And just, year by year, I decided to keep working, and once the opportunity came, I had to take my shot. I had great tight ends ahead of me, I had great tight ends coming up behind me. So it's never just like, if you mess around too long, you're just going to miss your shot. So let's see, I played my redshirt freshman and sophomore year about 225, and I realized that still wasn't heavy enough. Did some extra work out to 240 for the 2015 season, and then this past season I played at 252. It was really fun. Just the whole thing at Iowa. I loved every second of it. The program, everything about it. The guys are incredible. Coaches are fantastic. So, no, my whole career it's attributed to those guys and the faith and the trust they put into me. And it's just fun being able to get to this point in my career and look back and say that I had a successful career and I made a lot of great friends along the way.
Yeah, no, that is great. Sounds like an awesome journey. I didn't realize, 3 high schools, that's insane, honestly. To make the adjustment and everything, just
I'm
in general.
I'm pretty good at adapting to situations now. I'm used to that. So
well, nice. See, there's something now you can tell, general managers alike, like, hey, I moved from 3 high schools. I can do anything.
It was crazy for me, but it was fun being able to. It's a little bit of a culture shock from Iowa City, Iowa to Norman, Oklahoma. But
I bet. Now you're the first person I've interviewed that actually competed in the combine. So I have to ask you, what's the craziest question that you were asked at the combine?
I'd say just the one that stands out the most was, are you a cat or a dog? I thought that was pretty funny. I answered dog, but I thought that was pretty interesting. There were a couple, but nothing that stood out quite like that. Yeah,
I know. There's been some weird ones in the past, so I thought that was interesting. I felt like I really needed to ask you that. So I have a question that I ask everyone that I interview, and it's kind of wordy, but it kind of just gets the point across. All right, so if I'm a GM and you have to sell your game to me, like a salesman of like what you do on the field, how would you conduct yourself, in that regard?
This is something I've told this to coaches and GMs. It's just that I'm a very versatile player. I have my hand in the dirt. I can block anybody. And I can also get in a 2-point stance, run routes for you, catch touchdowns. I feel like I'm the best blocking tight end in this year's draft. And if you watch my film, I think it backs that up and it proves that I am. And I also got to play in a pro-style offense that has prepared me for the NFL and has put me a step ahead of most guys that are coming out this year. And, I was a 4-time academic, all Big Ten, so I know how to keep my stuff in order, and I'm a smart player.
Hey, man, that's great. And I'm happy you mentioned, you do keep your stuff in order. There's no – I don't have to worry about – I'm not, pointing fingers at anybody in this draft, but there are a couple guys that have some issues off the field, and you're not one of them. And, I can't stress it enough. I've had conversations with people that I would choose so-and-so over another person just because of the fact that, in the NFL, with the bust potential that you see, year to year, you don't want to make it, you don't want to, improve those odds of bust by, grabbing somebody with red flags. Like, see, somebody like you that, that works hard, that, has that, nose to the grindstone demeanor, that's somebody on my football team. Not somebody who, is out partying all the time and clearly, isn't putting in the work. And, you could see it when it's, evident on the field. And, I'm happy you brought that up because I can't stress that enough. It's one of my big things, in the draft. I grade, people fairly, but, once, for their on the field stuff, but off the field you can't just ignore. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, no, that's something that you have to focus on that because it's pretty easy to get caught up in situations that that can affect your whole career. So that's something that I looked at my entire life. So when I got to this point, I wouldn't have any red flags.
And that's great because we've seen it a week before the draft. Someone will do something and kill their stock. so lastly, because, you know, I know you're a busy man. I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to interview you. For those who don't know you, who is George Kittle?
I'm just a guy from Iowa that loves to play football, man.
Short and sweet. I like it. All right, man. Thank you for your time. You know, I wish you the best of luck come draft time. Hopefully you're a Ram, but regardless, I'm a fan for life, and let's stay in touch, man.
Oh, yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're very welcome. Take care, George.
Yep, see ya.